And welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your host, Daniel.
And Daniel.
Daniel, how you doing?
All right, and yourself?
Can't complain. I'm a little tired today.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I don't think viewers at home will know why I'm tired. I'll explain that here in a moment, but I am quite tired. And that'll go into our story later on. But I just got out of the car, unloaded it, and now just came right over here after I've been in the car for a little while.
A little while.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to telling you about it.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, what have you been up to this week, man?
Not too much. It's actually been kind of a chill week for me. My busy week is going to be the following week because I got some stuff going on, which we'll get to here in a little bit. But yeah, no, it's actually been pretty chill. My wife right now is in Missouri doing a job site over there. So It's been just kind of a chill week with me and the dogs.
Yeah, you get to hang out. I mean, it's good that, because right now we are filming this on the 19th of December.
It's right before...
Yep, less than a week before Christmas.
Yep.
Right. And we're wrapping up the holiday season. Wrapping up our holiday season for the podcast as well.
Yep.
Which this is the last episode for our holiday season.
Yeah, and this will actually air, so when you're listening to it on YouTube, it's going to be on the 29th of December, 2023.
So you'll hear it in a couple weeks.
In 10 days or so, yeah.
Yeah, about 10 days or so. We look forward to you guys listening to it then, but if you're listening to it now and you're joining us live, thank you for joining us.
Yep.
But we thought we're done talking about Christmas stuff right now.
Pretty much,
did Christmas games, we did stocking stuffers, we did our gaming goals of the year, so New Year's resolutions. Now we're on the kick of New Year's games.
Revisiting of the New Year's resolutions.
Yes, the revisiting of last year's, right?
Yeah.
See how we've done this year. Stay tuned for the future ones.
Which will be recorded in a few weeks. Yeah, yep. I think we're recording that behind the curtain a little bit. I think that's going to get recorded the week after New Year's.
That's right. But today we thought, what better game to represent the New Year's than here in America? Yeah. I don't know if you're listening to us internationally. First off, thank you. But secondly,
surprisingly, we do have a lot of international.
We do, and we appreciate all of you.
This past month, we were big in Germany.
That's right. And all you Germans, we love you. We love everybody who listens to us, really. And here in America, just so you know, if you're international, you in America know, we celebrate our New Year by blowing crap up.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
It's the American way.
That's right. We are huge on fireworks, and we decided, what better game than Hanabi?
Well, not us as a group are big on fireworks, just Americans in general, because... I'm
big on fireworks. I'm a huge fan of fireworks. You have every reason not to be a fan of fireworks. I love fireworks.
It's just a lot of stuff. Like, I have dogs. These ones are not as bad as my last dog, who was terrified of them. I also have a buddy who was in the military, so I have to check on him every time fireworks are going off, because there's just stuff like that. So, yeah, it's just... For me, it's just, oh God, stop making so much noise. Get off my lawn,
Get off my lawn. I know, instead of blowing stuff up, play Hanabi. Have fun with the game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's much less noisy and moderately less risk for losing.
It has to be less noisy because there's limited communication. All you're going to hear is or if someone accidentally plays a card out of their head, that's not the one I thought it was.
Yep, that's right. Oh man, I love those forgetful moments. Are just so hilarious. Those are some of my favorite. Anyway, I'll talk about those in
when we get to that part.
Yeah, when we get to that. But again, we thought Hanabi would be a great example of that, even though it's based on Chinese fireworks or Japanese fireworks.
Well, in all honesty, where do you think we got the idea for fireworks on New Year's? It's a big thing. Chinese New Year's, they're throwing fireworks. And this is usually always in February. Their lunar New Year's.
Yep.
So. Why not us do it too?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Because everything American is what we've stolen from other places.
Pretty much. Well, fair enough. Except for deep fried Twinkies and stuff. There's nothing more American than that.
That's true too.
That's come for the absurdity. Stay for the heart attack.
America is the apple of countries. Hey, we invented this. No, we didn't. We just perfected it.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I can see that. I know a lot of people disagree, and rightfully so.
No, in all honesty, think about it. Like a lot of the stuff that we say, a lot of big thing is we're about democracy and freedom. But we didn't invent that. We got that from the Greeks.
Right, exactly.
And we're technically a constitutional republic. We got that from the Romans.
That's true. And then also like on top of, like going back to the food, like pizza is one of the funny like I've heard that a lot of people that come from Italy now like they have their traditional Italian style pizza, which is very different than American pizza.
Oh, very different, yeah.
But so many people fell in love with American style pizza that now in Italy they make American style pizza, which is basically just greasier and grosser, but you know, just how we like it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's how we do.
It is what it is. But honestly, but it's a big holiday. New Year's is a big thing that's celebrated. I've never been a fan of celebrating New Year's all that much. There's some traditions that we would always do growing up. Chicken wings was one of them. That was the one thing we always had on New Year's.
That's a fun one.
And then two, we never did the fireworks. Fireworks actually just relatively became a thing in the last, I don't know, since about 2000 or so.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I don't remember going to any fireworks show growing up as a kid in New Year's. There was a little bit. In fact, where I used to live, there was always fireworks stands for 4th of July. They were never open on New Year's.
Yeah.
Now they're open New Year's and 4th of July. And so it's just hasn't been fireworks towards me till more recently as I've been an adult.
Yeah.
Because again, growing up, it was about watching like football or sports and having chicken wings and staying up. I think the last one I really, really did celebrate was probably Y2K, and it was just because I'm like, something's gonna happen, and no.
That was one of the last ones I didn't celebrate, and you know what was funny about Y2K? I was on my computer at the turn of the year, and I did that on purpose because that's when I was growing up. I was starting to get really into computers.
Yeah.
And so I was on there, working on there, browsing some website or something. I don't know. I forget which one it was. But I remember my dad, the computer used to be in his bedroom. Because we had the computer, not a computer.
Yeah, we grew up in a generation where there was a computer in the house.
A computer. And so I was on the computer, and I was hearing my dad listen to the TV in the background, and they're like, all right, Y2K, here it comes, 10, 9. And I'm just watching it. And then if I got my computer, nope, didn't blow up. Carry on. And I probably stayed up another 3 hours because I was nocturnal around that time. Yeah, so that was my Y2K for that.
Yeah, my thing is like, I think I had one game night, and when we moved into my old place where I used to be, on a New Year's Eve, and even then, everybody went home at like 8 o'clock because they had young kids and stuff like that. Right. So it wasn't much of anything, which is fine. I'm not a drinker much anymore either. Right. That's another thing. It's a big drinking holiday. My wife, she drinks wine. That's pretty much all she drinks. And honestly, she always worked New Year's Day. She used to work graveyards, and so she was either overnight New Year's Eve to New Year's Day. Nothing we really celebrated. So.
Right. Me and my friends, we used to have a tradition in New Year's back shortly after high school, is we would go around finding pallets and all that stuff. And we had a spot out in the desert that we would go, have a New Year's bonfire. But the funnest part about it is that me and a friend of mine, you know him, he lives in Arizona, we would rent a power generator.
Okay.
And we would bring it out there, and I would set up my DJ equipment. And I had a song that I would play, and I knew the timing on it. And I would have it's like this techno song that has a beautiful like strings line, and then breaks into a really hard bass drop. And I would play that, and I would time it perfectly so the bass drop hits on New Year's. And all of me and my friends, we all like techno music and stuff, so it made sense. So that was really kind of magical, as we would all just be hanging around the fire, having a good time, New Year's style. It was fun. Although there was one year that we did that, and we found a mattress, and we're like, oh, let's just bring out the mattress, let's get it out there. And we found it New Year's Eve, so we grabbed it, we put it out, or I'm sorry, the day before New Year's Eve, the 30th.
New Year's Eve's Eve.
New Year's Eve's. And we're like, all right, let's just go preload it out there, so it's all on the way. We go out there New Year's Eve, just maybe 12 hours after we left it there, somebody already burned it. We're like, yo!
That was for us.
You could have waited for us, that's why we brought. I mean, I'm glad you had the same idea, but we did the work. What the heck?
Yeah.
So that was fun, but overall, I like New Year's just for those kind of memories.
Yeah.
But
honestly, I can't even think of anything memorable wise for me growing up, like in high school and stuff like that. I didn't really go to those kind of parties, New Year parties and stuff like that. Like I went to parties when I was in high school, but it wasn't really New Year's or anything like that. And that was because I was on basically a break from school. I had I was in between sports, so it was just after football finished and baseball was about to start. So honestly, I don't remember too much other than hanging out with my family. And then there's one tradition that we always did around New Year's Eve, which I'll talk about when we get into the actual outside of gaming.
Okay, sounds good. Well, you know what? Let's get into that then.
Okay.
We appreciate you all for tuning in. Like I said, we're gonna be doing a board game brainstorm for Hanabi here in a little bit. But before we do that, we have a little new segment that we like to talk about what we've been doing outside of gaming for the people who are interested about hearing our actual lives. Daniel, take it away.
All right. So one of my favorite things is I mentioned I played football, and I've mentioned it before when we did this outside gaming stuff. I love the sport of football, preferably college football more so than NFL. And the big thing about it is right now it's bowl season. It's where all the colleges are playing in bowl games, different ones. The New Year's Bowl and stuff like that is going to be happening here around New Year's. They call them the New York Six. There's 4 that are the part of the playoff. And there's 2 that are just really big because they're in that cycle. But for me, growing up, one of our traditions was we would always go to a local bowl out here in El Paso, which is about 40 miles from us, called the Sun Bowl. In fact, the Sun Bowl is actually closer to where we live than most of El Paso because it's on like the west side, central part of it. So it's basically a 30-minute drive from where we live. I'm actually going to it this year.
It almost takes longer to park than it
does
to
drive to it, yeah. I'm going to it this year because, one, I am a huge Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan. I got that from the fact that my dad was an Irish fan. I grew up watching Irish games with him. And so the fact that they're coming to the Sun Bowl for only the second time in their history, and the last time we were there was with me and my dad and my brothers. Of course, my dad passed away, and my oldest brother, I think he's going to the game, but he's going with his family, so we might meet up and say hi. And my middle brother, he doesn't live here in the States, so he's not going to be able to make it down. So it's not going to be the famed tradition. So we haven't gone in years. I haven't gone. I think it's been about, I want to say it's been about 10 years or so. I think the last one I went to was 2013.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's been about 10 years. It was just after it's either been 2013 or 2012. It's either the year after I got married, that same year I got married, or it was the year before we got married. Because I ended up taking my brother-in-law, and I can't remember if he was my brother-in-law at the time, because it just depends on the time frame. And my brother and my dad, we all went to this game. I want to say it's 2013, so I was just married. We all went. I bought like a 4-pack of tickets, had some decent seats. It was, I think it was UCLA versus Virginia Tech, I want to say. And it was fun, and I remember going to that. It's always been really fun. Another thing is I almost went to Albuquerque, which is about a 3.5-hour drive, because my actual alma mater was playing in a bowl game up there. New Mexico State was playing in the New Mexico Bowl. They got their butts handed to them, but the fact that they had a 10-5 season, I think, is what the final record was.
Which is really impressive for a local team. I'm not the biggest local team fan. I'm not the biggest football fan. Let's be real, but I mean, like, even I was kind of like, oh yeah, go Aggies. Well,
it's kind of cool that they were up there playing in their home state. I think the stadium attendance was like 30,000. It was the 3rd largest New Mexico Bowl in history.
Wow.
So, but the one I'm going to is sold out, and sold out was one of the team announced. And it was interesting how that happened. Yeah. So they already announced who the Pac-12 team was going to be. It was Oregon State. But it went into a weird aspect because the way the Sun Bowl works, they're tiered bowls. And so the first 3 picks goes to these different bowls. Because of Florida State being kept out of the playoff and taking, I think it was like the Orange Bowl or something like that, or the Citrus Bowl, they forced the top tier teams, which have the first 3 picks, they couldn't pick Notre Dame. And so then the Sun Bowl, which is a tier 2 for ACC teams, including Notre Dame, who is independent but they work with the ACC, all 3 of the bowls who were in tier 2 wanted Notre Dame because they're a big draw. And El Paso, the Sun Bowl, wanted them again because the last time you hear was the last time the Sun Bowl sold out, which was like 55,000 people.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's impressive for a smaller tier bowl. Well, the other 2 bowls wanted them. So what they had to do is those 3 bowls, since they all agreed this is the team that they want, they drew names out of the hat. The Sun Bowl ended up getting Notre Dame.
That's cool.
So Notre Dame's coming to El Paso. I'm going to go to that game. They're going to be facing Oregon State. I'm looking forward to it. I'm either going to go with my wife or a buddy of mine. It just depends on my wife's schedule, not you. You're not even going to be in town.
When is this again?
The 29th.
Oh, yeah. Have fun with that.
So, yeah, you're going to be out of town. Our other friend works on Friday, so I had to ask my other game group, my friend Angel. He's going to go with me if the wife can't make it.
I'm glad he's at least tier 3.
Yeah.
You totally didn't pick me first. Let's be real. I wasn't even close.
No.
I was maybe top 12. Maybe.
No, so it's just like, yeah, we're going to go to that. If my wife can be able to make it right now, she doesn't have anything on her schedule, so fingers crossed. If not, I have a backup plan with a buddy of mine. I got really great seats, too. I am on between the 45 and 50-yard line behind the Notre Dame bench, 22 rows up.
That's not bad.
Yeah, so and the thing about it is, once they got announced, I told the wife, I told her flat out, if Notre Dame comes, in the unlikely event Notre Dame comes to the Sun Bowl, I'm buying tickets.
Yeah.
I'd rather ask for forgiveness and permission on this one.
Yeah.
Notre Dame got Drew. I bought the tickets immediately that once I found out it was going to be Notre Dame, that within that first hour, they sold out by the next day.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So for me, going to the Sun Bowl was a family tradition every New Year's. It actually landed on New Year's Day for the longest time. Now it's like the weekend of, because they don't want to compete with the New York Six Bowls.
Sure.
Because 2 or 3 of the games are on the 31st and the other games are on the 1st. So Sun Bowl was always on New Year's Eve, give or take most of the time. There was a couple days where it was like the 27th and the 28th. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I make sure you take lots of pictures. I'll watch it on TV and hopefully see you in the stands.
You won't watch it. I'll be on CBS, so if you guys want to look for me,
yeah,
I'm behind the Notre Dame bench on the 45, 50-yard line.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll map it out. It was like, all right, we'll triangulate.
Yeah, I just try to remember what side I am. I think I'm on towards the end zone that has seating.
Oh, okay.
So it's on that 45, 50.
Oh, okay.
Compared to the one that's just blank and it says UTEP or Sun Bowl on the side there. So.
Cool. Sounds like it's gonna be good fun.
Yeah.
And speaking of Texas, because that takes place in El Paso, Texas, that is the Sun Bowl, because we're in the Sun area, really. I mean,
yeah, I think El Paso's nickname is the Sun City. Yeah. So.
Speaking of Texas, that's where I'm going to segue into mine. What I've been doing outside of gaming. So I've said this before. I've been traveling a lot, and I referenced this at the top of the episode. I had just came back from a 9-hour drive, where I got into town. I unloaded my mom, who came with us. I unloaded my in-laws, who came with us. My father-in-law and his brother. And then I went to the house, unloaded all the car, and then came over here right away after a 9-hour drive. I went from San Antonio, Texas, which is 9-hour drive from here. And I wanted to talk about just going there. I've been there a few times. This is my 3rd time that I've spent significant time there.
Okay.
And me and my wife, we fell in love with this city, actually. Like, I really do like San Antonio a lot. It's probably my favorite Texas town. I really do. And see, here's the thing. Like, it's not... I've been to Houston. I've been to Dallas.
I hate Houston. Oh,
yeah.
God.
I mean, Houston doesn't have character, like, in my opinion. It just feels like a giant metropolis. But I don't feel like I'm in Houston when I'm in Houston. I've only been once, so granted, anybody who's listening from Houston, I apologize. It doesn't feel like it.
4th largest city in the country. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's huge.
Metro area.
Absolutely massive.
Yeah.
And I wonder what the 3rd is. It's not Dallas-Fort Worth, right?
No, it's not.
That's 5, I think.
I think 3 now is Phoenix.
Or Chicago.
Oh, no, Chicago, yeah.
Chicago.
Because I think it's 1, 2,
Chicago.
Chicago, then Houston, then Phoenix.
Yeah.
Phoenix is 5.
Something to that effect. Yeah, it's huge, right? but it doesn't feel like it. Like Dallas feels a little more like Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
El Paso definitely doesn't.
Especially when you go to like Fort Worth and you get like the stockyards and stuff like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, but so what happened is 15 plus years ago, me and my wife, we decided to drive to Florida to go to Disney World, and we drove back through San Antonio.
Yeah,
and that was just the best like split point because we split it over 3 days of like 8 hours each.
Yeah, and then San Antonio is like if you're doing straight I-10, it's a good stopping point.
Right, and so we stayed there because we were like, oh, we don't really know what to expect, and we got there pretty early, and I was like, oh, a Riverwalk, let's go check it out because we didn't know what to expect. Went downtown, did the Riverwalk, fell in love with it. Like that. The
Riverwalk's
awesome.
Nice. I'll admit that. But just outside of that part of San Antonio, the rest of it's just kind of eh.
Oh, see, I disagree. I disagree because the following year, a year later, right when my son was a newborn, he stayed with my mom for the time being and my in-laws, and we spent a week there because we wanted to go back and see what it was because we liked it that much. We thought it was really cool. So we spent a whole week there and really enjoyed it. Had a lot of good time. That is one of my favorite memories from there is that I went to a garage sale, and they were selling. Of course I did, and they were selling like packs of playing cards. And this is before I got into games really too much. And I was like, wow, these are some cool cards. I was like, do you guys have any others? And they bring out a big old crate of playing cards. I'm like, you're my people. Like we're getting along. But they did have a deck, and they were asking like $20 for it, which now it's worth way more. But that was my biggest regret of not buying that deck. I was like, $20 is hard for a deck of cards. And they're like, well, you know what we have. I'm like, I know you know what we have. I'm like, that's why I'm still considering it.
And
but
I think a big part of it,
for a deck of
I think
cards.
a big part of it for you too at that time. I mean, you just had a newborn. You weren't making like a lot of money because
we stayed at like some extend stay north of town.
And I think you're pretty young at the time because I think you had your son when you were what, early 20s?
Yep. Yeah, so I was in my early 20s then too. So it was like 22 maybe. But and then we went to SeaWorld and we saw all those places. Yeah. That was really cool. But this time around, my daughter had a cheer competition, so we went down there to compete. It was only a 1 day, so that was nice and comfy. But my father-in-law and his brother came, uncle-in-law I guess would be mine, and my mom joined us because she had never been there before. Well, my uncle-in-law, he used to live there. Yeah. And so he
probably showed you all the cool little haunts and the food places.
Stuff. Well, yeah, he made some great recommendations. The very first night after the cheer competition, which, by the way, my daughter won division champions. She had a jacket and everything and a sash. And
nice, I saw the sash.
She was stoked, like absolutely like enthralled with it. So she got that and got a chance to be division champions. Or now she's been invited to the national champions because of that win. So of her division, yeah. So.
Wait, what part of Florida would that be in?
I don't know, but I'm thinking Orlando.
More than likely, if it's one of those that because you see like those cheerleading competitions.
It's in Pensacola.
No, you see those cheerleading competitions like on ESPN and stuff like that. Yeah. And I think they're in Orlando because I think they're tied to like a Disney resort or something.
Oh yeah, I believe it. I think it actually is with Disney. Yeah. Yeah. So that'll be cool. But so that was the first day. There was only a 1 day competition, so that was pretty cool. And it was pretty open. But at the same day, we went into the convention center, the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. And one of the silliest things happened. I start looking around as we're walking, and there's a bunch of not cheer-looking people walking in. And we're like, what's with all these extra people? I'd never been to the convention center before. Yeah. And I'm like, a lot of these people are wearing, like, video game shirts and, like, anime stuff. Like, what's going on?
They probably had their Comic-Con?
There was a Pokemon TCG regional championship.
Oh, yeah. I heard about that. Yeah, no.
That same day.
Because I think it was on YouTube they were talking about it.
Yeah. That same day that we just stumbled upon it, happening in the same convention center, opposite side.
That's a massive convention center.
It's a huge convention center, yeah. And it was hilarious because we saw my daughter's cheer coach, and she's on the phone talking to somebody, and she's upset. Because she's like, I don't get, hey, we're not even in the same place. I walk in, I see all these Pokemon people everywhere, and I don't understand. We're on the opposite side. They have the real floor. It's like I just loved how she referred to them as Pokemon people. I'm like, yo, these are my people.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on now. And so that was entertaining. But then after that, we went to a restaurant. I got to give this a shout out. It's called the Magic Time Machine.
Oh, God.
And it is the most, it has nothing to do with, magic. It's it's the most wildest restaurant I've ever been to. Every table is its own little self um, designed, decorated booth, and they all have every single one of them has a totally different theme. One is like a stock car. One is like board game themes, which happened to be the one that they sat us at. It had like Monopoly and stuff. That was not by request. One is like Alice in Wonderland theme. One is like it's just like neon, like steampunk Tokyo, whatever. It's just crazy, and it was made like in the 70s. They totally don't follow like any normal standards, and all of the waiters and waitresses and hostesses, all of them dress as whatever character they want. Like one was like Rapunzel, and ours was like some character from One Piece. And that guy was wild.
Okay, how was he dressed?
I don't remember.
Was he like in a white shirt?
I think so. He was like the main guy from One Piece. I remember seeing like the.
Well, did he have a straw hat on or?
I think so. No, he didn't. He didn't have any.
If he was in the white shirt, he was dressed as Zoro.
Okay, probably. Yeah, no, he was wild. They were the most over the top characters. Like they weren't in character. They were just really entertaining people. And we got a potion, which is their drink. It's basically like a cherry limeade, but they put a little dollop of dry ice in the bottom of it.
Okay.
So it's all bubbling and
oh, that's what that picture was. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and it was a completely wild time. A little pricey, but totally a unique experience. Everyone had a great time. The food was, it was okay. Yeah, it was just crazy. The next day we spent time on the Riverwalk. We went to the flea market, which was really cool. It's a massive, massive flea market. What are you looking at?
I'll tell you in a little bit.
Okay. Sorry, massive flea market. Completely crazy. The San Antonio flea market I can highly recommend. It was good fun.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go to there, or I knew you were there because you showed us something. I forget what game it was.
Fireball Island.
Yeah.
This guy had like 6 copies and he was like, yo, $5 each. I'm like, I'll own this for $5, of course.
Yeah, I've never been enamored with that game, and for $5, yeah, it's cool, but it's not $5 worth for me.
And actually, so right before I left, I didn't show you, but I actually bought a World of Warcraft escape room.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and apparently it came out like 2 years ago.
Oh, that's my pin. I don't know where it went.
Yeah, you did.
I found it.
Yeah. It came out like only 2 years ago, and they had like a sealed copy of it there. And I was like, oh, here you go.
Nice.
$10. Like, yeah. I don't know much about World of Warcraft, but I'll do an escape room.
I'm waiting for us to get after Christmas when I can start buying stuff. Because I'm actually gonna do Magic the Gathering pre-order.
Really? Oh, okay. You'll have to tell me about that here in a bit. And then after that, we went to a couple other restaurants. Longhorn Steakhouse.
Why'd you go to Longhorn?
Yeah, it's because it was there. It was near the hotel.
No, because there's one in El Paso, so you're always a big thing about like not going somewhere that.
Right, but we don't have one here in Cruces, and I've never been. And
okay.
We talking about it. We also went to a Cheddar's too. Which
I thought your rule was too is no, check that shut down.
Oh, the one here?
Yeah, in El Paso.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, Cheddar's
is not never been. Yeah, it wasn't bad. And then the last night we went to a pizza place. It was like it was called Dough. It was really neat. One thing that I can honestly say about San Antonio, the food is okay. Like, I mean, like, you know how some places you go and you're like, oh my god, all of the food is phenomenal.
Yeah.
The food is okay. But
just because it depends on where you go.
Sure. Yeah.
I've had some really good food in San Antonio,
absolutely.
But I also always hit holes in the wall.
Right. No, I agree with that. But what I will say about all the restaurants, every waiter and waitress we had was absolutely over the top phenomenal. That was some of the best service I've ever had.
Nice.
So if I will gladly go to subpar restaurants for great service easily. Like, I mean, we were dishing out big tips because they were just great people, and I'm glad that they were awesome as they were. But yeah, it was a good time. We went to the Lego store in downtown, the Riverwalk. We saw all that. Just wild. I know I'm forgetting something. The last thing I want to talk about, game stores. First off, there's a couple of used bookstores called Half Price Books. Check them out. They're not bad. I've been recommended them before.
Yeah.
They had very reasonable prices for games, but they had a pretty small selection. Normally only like a small shelf.
The half price books, I think the San Antonio one are Some of them are a lot bigger than others. It's kind of
Yeah.
like how our Target is kind of okay when it comes to other Targets.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I know some people find some amazing deals at half-price books. But
Yeah. I will give them credit. All of the games that were there were very reasonably priced.
Nice.
And I almost walked away with more. I ended up just getting a couple just because I knew what they were. But there is one game store I did go to.
Mm-hmm.
And that was recommended by all of our friends on the
Board Game Revolution?
Board Game Revolution group. And this is called Night's Watch Games. Oh my goodness. It is entirely medieval themed as you walk in.
Oh, it's almost like Noble Knight then.
Kind of, yeah. It's entirely medieval themed. They have the long tables, free open gaming.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
You do not have to pay anything. They have a full service kitchen, which they do that. You do not have to rent space to be there. There are themed nights. There are some private rooms that are available for rent, and the person who showed me around, his name I think is Cameron, but he goes by Cabbage. He explained the whole thing, but I'm Cabbage, who was at the game Night's Watch, awesome guy, great service, and he was like, yeah, I'll show you the private rooms, but they are currently occupied, so I won't, but I will show you these other two rooms, and he showed me one that was like a military bunker, and it looked like you were on a giant ammo can, or ammo crate, that's the table you were playing on.
Yeah.
And then there's another room across the way that looks like a starship.
Nice.
And it straight up like Star Wars. It is fantastic looking.
That would be a cool place to rent out for like someone if they want to do like a birthday and to be like, we're doing space games.
It was really dope. And then on top of that, they have another thing called the Sanctuary that they're connected to, that they also run, which is full like LARPing costume gear.
Okay. That's
so like swords, weapons, like costumes, all that stuff. And I think that's one of the only ones that really cater to that. There was one other store I wanted to go to, and I wish I could. It was called the Printed Meeple.
Okay.
Where they're half board game store, half 3D printer shop. And they 3D print they design like custom components.
That's
for board games and stuff.
Nice.
Like I saw like a gizmo tray and or a dispenser and Azul tray, stuff like that. So I want to give them a shout out. That was it. Great time in San Antonio, but that's why I'm filming a little later than normal.
We're actually on time, but we were going to change it to Mondays, but then he realized, oh wait, I'm going to be in San Antonio still.
Yeah, so we're going to change it to Mondays. After all of these Mondays, I can't film.
Yeah. So, of course, after probably the first week of January, after the New Year, so maybe, I think it's the second week of January, we'll be moving mostly to Mondays. There will be changes from time to time, depending on schedules and stuff like that. So
stay tuned for that.
Yep.
All right. With that being said, let's go into our main topic tonight, and that is our Board Game Brainstorm. This is when we give you recommendations on a game that is 10 years or more older, normally considered a modern classic or something to that effect that we like to break down. And using our 5 criteria that we use for the top 8 debate, we will give you a recommendation based on if you like certain aspects of that game.
Yeah, I agree totally with that, because it just makes it so much easier. So you're possibly going to get at most 10 game recommendations.
Yep.
At minimum 5, so you're still going to get a lot of game recommendations based off how you feel about Hanabi or certain aspects of Hanabi you like.
Because you might not like Hanabi as a game itself.
Because it can be stressful. My wife does not like Hanabi because it stresses her out.
Yeah, and I met people that genuinely don't like it, and I get why you don't like it. And we're hoping that if maybe there was part of it that you were turned off by, you can see recommendations for stuff that for our other categories. Yeah. Like you might have appreciated the theme or the cooperative nature, or how easy it is to play. You might have done like the artwork and components. Anyway, we'll get into that. But listen to our recommendations, and hopefully you'll find some new games for you for that. So, that being said, let's get into it. Let's start with ease of play. As you said, this is a very easy game to play. That would be me. That'll be you? Yep.
So
I use this coin yet.
My easy game for ease of play pick for Hanabi, and it's funny because most of these, except for one, are cooperative. Yeah. So, and it just, because of the way Hanabi works, actually, before we get into this, Explain how Hanabi works. This way people understand.
Yeah, so Hanabi is a card game made by Antoine Boza,
Mm-hmm.
and this is his only game that won the Spiel des Jahres. This won, I think, in 2011,
Somewhere around there.
somewhere around there, mid around early 2010s.
Yeah.
But this won the Game of the Year, the Spiel des Jahres, German Family Game of the Year.
Yeah.
And the way this works is simple. It's a cooperative card game. If you've played something like Solitaire, Klondike Solitaire, you know about putting the cards in order. That's kind of what you're doing in this game.
Yeah.
You have 5 different suits as the base game. Red, green, yellow, blue, and white.
Mm-hmm.
And on those suits, you have the numbers 1 through 5. There are multiple copies of 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. And there's more 1s than anything else. But what you're trying to do is, on your turn, you can do one of 3 things. You can either play a card, hoping that it'll be in one of those available spots, because once you played, like, say, the 1 red, you don't play another 1 red. But you do have to play a 1 red before you play a 2 red.
Yeah.
And you can't skip numbers, too. So in order to play a 3 red, you have to have the 1 and the 2 already down.
Mm-hmm.
You can either play a card, or you can discard a card, because you might have a duplicate. Or the last thing, which makes it really interesting, is you can share information. Because the trick on this game is your hand of 4 cards is facing away from you. Everyone else sees what you have, except you. So in order to get information on what you should discard or play, people have to either give you information, or by not giving you information, that tells you might not have something that's super valuable. Otherwise, hopefully the timing would work out. So they have 8 tokens in the middle, and these 8 tokens, you flip one down to give somebody information. You either point out all of the cards in their hand that have the same number or the same color. So out of my 4 cards, let's say I have my hand right here. I'm just going to borrow this. Is that cool?
Yeah.
So let's say I borrow this, and this is my hand of 4 cards. Just imagine. I could say, or you might look at my hand and go, this card and this card at the end, those are 2s. Cool. So now I know this is a 2, this is a 2. Well, there's a lot of 1s out. I have a pretty safe bet to play 1.
Yeah.
But you might say, oh, this first card that you know is a 2, and this card next to it are also blue. Great. I know this is a blue, and I know this is, a blue 2. This is not a blue. Or this is a blue, but not a 2. So it might be a 1, 3, 4, 5. And I know that this is not a blue 2 because otherwise you would have included it in there.
Yep.
And so you break it down that way. You give it very limited information, and the only way to get these tokens back is by discarding cards, not playing them, but discarding them. Now, if you play them and they're correct, you're good. If you play them and they're incorrect, you lose one of your 3 hit points, basically. It's like a little fuse. And if you hit the fuse, then you collectively lose. Otherwise, you count up the highest numbered card that you have played, and the most points, or the points determine generally how good you've done.
Yep. So it's very intriguing.
I hope I didn't miss anything.
No, I think you did pretty well. There is an expansion that I think most come with it now, where it gives you a 6 suit of cards where it's like rainbow cards.
Yeah, it's a rainbow card. So you could either play that without, which is how I tend to play it.
Yeah.
Or you could play it as a wild suit, so they count. And it's always fun, like, to point out, oh, like, if I have a rainbow 1, it's like, oh, this is a red. And then somebody else goes, this is a blue. Because you have to include those in.
Yeah, and you can't tell them it's a rainbow. You have to tell them a specific color.
It always counts as every color. So that's tricky. Or you could play it as a separate 6th suit. Which then you would say it's rainbow. Yeah. Because then...
If you're using it as a wild, you have to tell it by its color. Right. If you're playing it for a full level, then you have to tell it that it's a rainbow. Right.
So either make it easier or harder depending on how it works.
So a lot of the stuff you just talked about, so going back to my pick here on ease of play, is cooperative, limited communication, and you have to play in a certain order. So my pick is the game. So you have to play in either, there's 4 discard piles, ascending and descending. You know your information, but you can't let other people know your information. That's the big twist, is that you know what you have. But you could say stuff like, hey, don't play in that pile because on your turn you have to play 1 or 2 cards. And the reason why it's 1 or 2, you do have to play 1 card for sure. But you can choose to play 2 if you got something that's basically a run. Be like, hey, I can do this and I can do this. And you're basically saying, hey, don't play there. Or you can be like, yeah, go ahead. I can fix that one, so we don't have to worry about that one.
This is a good pick. I already know where you're going with this. That's a good pick.
Because you got your limited communication, There are points in here where when you're playing a number down, and you have to play, so sometimes like, I'm sorry, I know you said I can't play in that pile, I gotta go here. It's cards 1 through 100. And you have 4 piles. You have 2 descending and 2 ascending, and your whole point of this game is to play out the entire deck.
Yep.
And you're trying to figure out what cards you're going to play, what everybody else is holding. When someone's telling me I can fix this, that means they can play 10 above that pile, basically trying to reset it a little bit. And there's times where
I should have thought of this. This is a really good recommendation.
there's a point in there that I remember in this one where someone's like, I can fix this. Just leave it alone. I can fix this. Okay, I played over there, and then we goes to his turn, and he's like, and it's like 35, so we're kind of far away down. So he's like, all right, here's a 45, here's a 55, jumped it up by 20 points because he played 2 cards, drew up his 2 cards, and his wife was like, oh, thank you. And then she played the 65 and 75. So,
I love that.
So I love that aspect of it. It's very simple. I've played this with his in-laws.
Did you say the name yet?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I said it in the very beginning.
I didn't even notice it. I'm sorry.
My pick is the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So
I literally thought you said the game that I picked is.
My pick is the game. And so this game it's one of the easiest games out there. It gives you a lot of the same feels as Hanabi without as much stress because you're trying to remember everything that you have. This one is less stress because you're like, okay, this is what I have. This is what I have to play.
Yeah.
And so you're basically just trying to work it out until you go through the deck. I haven't won this game a lot, but I have won a couple times. But yeah, this is such a phenomenal co-op card playing game.
Man, that is a really good pick too. So the one I picked for ease of play is my goal with this was, and this was the last one I picked, which is why it took me a few moments, is because I feel like Hanabi is just it's like a new take on Klondike Solitaire.
Yeah.
And I feel like what
basically
it does,
made it co-op.
Yeah, they made it co-op, but they added that little twist of, oh, you have to turn your hand around.
Yeah.
And only other people get to see your information. I love that quick little twist. So I was trying to find a game that feels like a classic game, but has a little bit of a twist to it. And so my pick was Llama. Because it feels like Uno, except because you're trying to shed your cards, you're trying to get rid of it. But the little trick is how the numbers always have to play in ascending, but then reset themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And going with that, and you're trying to get the fewest points, because you probably will get points in that. It's not just whoever gets out first wins, because that just takes forever, like Uno does. But this one is my always go-to recommendation. If people like Uno, I tell them to go with this. If people say like, oh, I like Solitaire, I used to play it quite a bit, then I recommend Hanabi, because then you're working together as a group. That limited communication is really key.
Yeah.
So I think had I thought of that, I would have picked the game, honestly, because that's really such a great recommendation. But yes, my pick.
That was the first game I thought of. I just like, where am I going to put it on this list? No, it's got to go in ease of play.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. You can play any card you want.
Yeah.
It might really mess us up.
Yeah, exactly.
But you gotta do it.
And you have to play, so it's like,
right.
I'm going to drop this 20 points because I have to play a card.
Right, exactly. All right, so that's ease of play. Let's go into replay value. Here we go. That's me. So replay value, in Hanabi, you brought it up on the example of that 6 suit. So it's a standard classic card game. There's some great interaction, a lot of immersive talk in there, which I feel like it's not so much inherent with the game itself that it has replay value, because really you're doing the same thing. You're seeing the same thing every time you play it.
Yeah.
But the level of communication you need for it allows you to want to play with different groups to really get the full feel of it, right?
Okay.
And then also the fact that it has a deluxe version is pretty cool as well, because Hanabi has like an actual like Bakelite tile version, the Hanabi deluxe version, very expensive but totally worth it. But then it also has that extra suit in there that adds just a little bit of a change to what they want to do. So I wanted to pick a card game that has a little bit of differences in it, but also has that like awesome table talk where it'll play differently for different groups. So I went with Bonanza.
Okay. I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, Bonanza is a great game. Bonanza...
Older than Hanabi?
Way older than Hanabi. Yeah, by far. By at least a decade. Probably 15 years older. Like it's way
Yeah,
older.
because it was like late 90s, early 2000s.
Yep, late 90s. Yeah, it was.
Actually, no, it is late 90s because it just had its 25th year. So
Yeah, 20. But anyway, but yeah. So Hanabi, or I'm sorry, Bonanza. Great little card game. It's not cooperative. It is absolutely versus, and you're wheeling and dealing a lot. So that negotiation, that back talk, like making those side deals, like, hey, I will trade you this chili bean to get it out of my hand. Which, by the way, you can't change the order of your hand. Mm-hmm. So that's that little twist, right?
Yeah.
That's where the replay value comes in, is you have to play the card that's in front of your hand. You play it down in front of you. You might not want that, so you might be trying to trade it out. Just like for the group, that might not be a good card for you to play, so you're going to discard it so you can get more information. Bonanza, you're trying to wheel and deal. You're trying to get it to the people who want it. You're trying to you might just donate it to them to accept a deal, but you might also be trying to get something in your favor as well at the same time. Super cool. I like it a lot. Bonanza, yeah, fantastic little card game.
Nice. My replay value, like I said, most of my games are co-op. It's another co-op that has limited information out there. You get a lot in the box in this one, and that's why I went to the replay value, because there's just a giant stack of little cards that you're using this entire game, and each one of those cards have 4 words on them. And then each one of those cards, you have to use 4 different cards on your thing over here. And so the game I picked was So Clover in the replay value.
Okay.
What I like about this one too, and it's all about that limited communication. Yep. You get your cards, and they're like these little square cards that have 4 words. You put them in there random, and so now you have 2 cards on each part of the clover. And so now you have to find a word that ties those 2 words to to each section of the thing. So in this case, one I always remember is I had triangle and game, so I came up with Ganon for Legends of Zelda. And that was my clue there. And I can't remember like all of them, but you have to come up with the clues. And so once you're done, when it's your turn to come up, you put your board out there, and it's empty just with your words, and then you put your cards out there, and the group has to look at it and try to figure out what words did you have for them to get the points.
Yep.
And so you
add a 5th card into it every time as well.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, which adds another little extra wrench.
Yeah. So
sometimes those clues are better. Which is hilarious.
So it's a bit tricky when it comes to it, but you're sitting out there and you're like, okay, this is how it goes, and people are trying to figure out, and they're communicating with themselves, and you're sitting there like, can't say anything, just gotta sit here stone-faced. I start looking at my phone, this way I'm not really concentrating on it.
When everyone else is discussing, like when you're holding up a hand of cards in Hanabi and everyone's like, I think we need to tell him something. We really need.
Yeah, exactly.
We should definitely tell him. Do you think we should? Yeah.
You get.
What do you know about your hand? Oh, this is blue. We need to tell him something.
Yeah. You get that a lot with So Clover, a lot, and so like I was thinking just one. I was also thinking fun facts would be kind of cool, but So Clover just gives you that tension that you get with Hanabi, because it's like there's so many good options, and you had bad words, and so like, oh man, if they flip this the wrong way, it still works for this clue, but I didn't pay attention to that word. That one works a lot better for that clue. Oh God, what did I do? And so you're just sitting there thinking, and like you're getting that tension in your mind. You're just sitting there like, can't say anything, can't say anything, can't say anything. So yeah, and then like I said, it's a giant stack of cards in there. So I've played this a handful of times. I don't think I've seen every single word or combination that I can in that game, just how much they give you just out of that box. And it's really well produced, so your replay value on that is through the roof with this one, just because of the way the different combinations are going to come to you. And so that's why I went with So Clover.
Cool. Awesome. Now let's go into Meaningful Choice, which this game has. Hanabi has quite a bit of meaningful choice. So mine is another co-op game. It's similar in vein to your replay value, and this is a cooperative word
I figured this was going to be on your list, that's why I didn't put it on mine.
Which is?
Letter Jam.
No.
Really?
Not Letter Jam. No. Although that's a good one. I picked Codenames Duet.
Oh, okay.
It's the same.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be somewhere else on your list. That's why I figured Letter Jam was going to be on here.
Codenames Duet it's on there because, I mean, Letter Jam's
Codenames in general could be on this one, too.
Sure, yeah. Codenames is good. I picked Codenames Duet just simply because it's the cooperative version of it. It works just as well.
Yeah.
You have that limited information. You're trying to get your partner to pick the right words, and you have to give them just a little bit of information, as in one word and how many cards it relates to. So if I have like a bunch of animals out, like it says fox and bear and wolf, I might say Arctic if I don't want them to pick certain ones. Although that would still be really tough because you're trying to lean. So I might say Arctic 2 and hope that they would pick like either the wolf or the Arctic fox, and maybe not think the polar bear. Otherwise, I would have said 3.
Yeah.
Very, like I said, very limited information. The way it works, you have 5x5 grid. In the original Codenames, you have 2 teams and a clue card that tells you which cards relate to one team, which relate to the other. And then there's also an assassin, where if one team picks the assassin, they immediately lose. So it's cooperative as far as the team base goes.
Yeah.
The duet version does that on the same, except there's 2 sides, and they have different information, and some of it crosses over to where you have to get all of the cards on both sides. And it works surprisingly well. Like, that system shouldn't work as well as it does, but it does. It's not my preferred version of Codenames. But yeah, Codenames Duet, that's my number 1 for meaningful choice. So much information, so little time. Got to get all the right spots at the right time and hope that it just comes up the way you need it to.
Yeah, see, I thought this would have been like in your replay value or something like that.
Yeah.
But just for the simple fact that, because pick your poison. Basically, you have like different Codenames, Disney, Marvel, and just at that point. And Duet, there's 2 versions. There's the regular Duet, and then there's the Harry Potter version.
Yeah, and see, here's the thing. Like, I didn't put it in replay. I did think about it for replay value.
Yeah.
But I didn't because of the fact that Hanabi really isn't that replayable. Other than every time you play it, it only feels different depending on the group you're in. That's why I picked.
See, this is why when I do my board game brainstorm, equal to or better.
No, I mean, I don't consider a better replay value. I mean, the replay value in Hanabi is seeing how it works with different people and how they communicate, in my opinion. And that's why I think that Codenames Duet wouldn't fit with that, per se, because the replay value is built in because there's like 200 something cards.
Yeah.
You know, that's crazy expandable.
All right, so my meaningful choice here is very interesting, and the fact is it's another one of the co-ops. Like I said, all four out of my 5 are co-ops. It's a card game. It's got the limited communication that Hanabi has, and you can actually get it in multiple versions. In fact, they just recently announced a 3rd version, and this is a co-op trick taker known as The Crew.
Ooh.
So I went with this one in the meaningful choice because you have to be smart how you play games, just like in Hanabi when you're doing limited communication trick taking. In this one, what I like about it, because it's a co-op trick taking, you're trying to feed tricks to a certain person. So we want you to take the first trick. We want Bryce to take the 2nd trick. I need to take the 3rd trick, and Dom needs to take the 4th trick. And so how we play that out without being able to speak to one another is very intriguing, because there's a couple ways that you can communicate, but only once per round can you communicate by saying, hey, this is the only card I have in this suit.
Yeah.
So I place it out in front of me, and I take the little token. It's like a little Moon Man token, and I place it on my my card. If it's in the middle, that's letting you know it's the only card I have of this suit. If I place it above it, this is the highest card I have of this suit. If I place it at the bottom part of the card, that's telling you it's the lowest. You only get to do that once per round, and if you're playing several rounds because you're playing through the campaign aspect of it, that's gonna hurt. Especially since it's very limited communication, because you also have a token. Once you play it, you have to flip it to the other side that says, hey, I've already used this ability. And those choices of trying to figure out how you're going to feed tricks to certain people, that's where I was like, this is where you're going to get that tension. It's like, why did he play that suit? I cannot play in this suit. All right, I'm putting this card down there. This is my highest card in this suit. We got to figure out how I can feed this trick to the person this needs to go to. So I love this game a lot. I need to play it more. I just haven't played it a lot. I do want to try the mission Deep Sea. I want to see how the family one is going to work. The one I have and specifically used is Deep Space Nine, or was it Quest for Planet 9 or something like that.
Yeah.
Honestly, the theme is kind of barely there. The only reason they have the theme...
It's as there as Hanabi has fireworks.
And it's basically, the theme is there because it's that's how they can get away with saying, this is why you have limited communication. You're in space or you're underwater, so can't really communicate all that well under all this and that. So for me, it is The Crew.
Cool. Awesome. Now we're going to go on to game immersion. Nothing more to say than that.
Yeah,
game immersion. All right.
This one's me. This is my last of the co-op games here.
Oh.
And a big thing about it too, I didn't realize this. Other than So Clover, all of these are card games.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense.
So this is a very thematic co-op game.
Okay.
I love the theme on this one a lot. And it's also got a lot of limited communication of what you guys can talk about in this game, what you have in your hand. You have to go until you deplete the entire deck down. This one actually can have a campaign on it, depending upon which version of this you have. And it's got a World War I theme on it. This is the Grizzled. Limited communication, co-op. You're basically trying to say, I need to play this out. I can't take these scars and stuff like that. This gives you a lot of like the tension feeling is like, oh God, this came up and I can't do this. Oh no, it's giving me another scar. And you can't talk about what's in your hand. And so you're playing this out and it comes out very thematic. So I went back to one of our older things. There's the theme Match the Mechanism.
I totally forgot about that one. Yeah.
So I really do enjoy this game. It gives you a lot of the tension that you're getting with Hanabi. It's giving you a lot of, getting into that immersion. You feel not really like you're a soldier that's going through the tension or what is it called in World War I? Shell shock and stuff like that. So you're getting all these terms thrown at you too. And it's like, oh God, if I play this is that going on here. Oh, now this weather is going on over here. I don't want that weather. And you're just playing it out until you can clear a certain point of the deck, especially if you're going through the campaign. It is a phenomenally good game. I know it's a little bit hard to find nowadays. You can pick it up every now and then, but honestly, if you get a chance at this, pick it up. It's such a solid game.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. You're not wrong on that. It's a co-op card game that's simple mechanism, but so full of tension. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is a co-op card game, where, again, it's very limited information, except you have one person who knows the secret card, and you have the array of many cards to choose from, and you're trying to whittle down your options to one, and hopefully the one that is correct. This is Similo. Yeah, this is... you played Similo.
I haven't played it.
You own it?
Nope. I actually asked my wife for a stocking stuffer.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Because I've forgotten that you don't have it, and that's because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need to play it because it's so good. But Similo is really simple. You have a deck of normally about 24
Pick your poison. There's so many themes.
There's 20 different versions of it right now,
including Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and they're cross-compatible too.
Mm-hmm.
Although, I
don't know how Lord of the Rings and history would work.
Kind of so. Well, here's the thing. Here's how the compatibility works. Well, I'll tell that after I talk about the game. Anyway, the way the game works is simple. You have 24 cards of the theme. I think it's about 24, 30 something.
Mm-hmm.
You shuffle them up and you take one, and you memorize what that is. If you're the clue giver, that's the one you remember. So let's say I'm playing the fairy tale version, and I have Sleeping Beauty. Okay, then I draw 11 more cards, shuffle them up, deal them out in a grid. So that way you have 12 cards that are visible for everyone. One of those 12 cards is Sleeping Beauty. Okay? But nobody else knows this. So on my turn, I'm going to draw a hand of the remaining cards, and I get to play one of those cards face up in front of somebody else. So I might have Snow White, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I put the card either face up in front of them, upright, which tells them my card is similar to that one, or I turn it sideways 90 degrees to say my card is very different than that one. After that little bit of information that you're gonna find out. So obviously I put similar if I was like, oh, it's Snow White, because I'm implying, hey, look, they're both princesses that are pretty innocent. That's what I know. You don't know that. and you have to discuss it as a group, trying to figure out, okay, which ones can we eliminate? The very first round, you get one piece of information. You get one more additional piece of information each round. But the first round, you eliminate one card of the 12. The second one, you eliminate 2 additional cards. Then 3 additional cards. Then 4 additional cards. On the 5th round, you only have 2. You get one more piece of information, and you have to pick a 50-50 between those 2 by those 5 clues that you've been given.
Okay.
So difficult. Very validating when you get it, but very fun and incredibly simple. Oh my goodness, is it simple? In fact, I forgot about this. I forgot about this on my list until I was just remembering, oh, a co-op card game that's really simple? Duh, similar. I fell in love with this game. And now the way it's compatible with that, like Lord of the Rings and fantasy or Greek or whatever, is that you shuffle up the... Because you don't want to have it where it's like, oh, this one's similar because it's from this set and not like... So you shuffle up one deck, and those are the 12 cards you deal out in front, and then the other deck is the one you're giving clues about. So, like, if mine was Sleeping Beauty, for example, I might put Frodo, I might put Frodo as a similar because it's like, oh, they're kind of the lead role or something. Where I'd put the opposite as, like, Smeagol, right? Yeah.
No, Gollum, Smeagol.
Gollum, Smeagol, yeah. But you get the idea, right? A dragon. Oh, turn that sideways. It's totally not Snow White, right? Sleeping Beauty, yeah. So that's the idea. It's super interesting. It works surprisingly well, and I love limited information like that.
Cool. All right. Going to art and production.
Art and production is our last one. Mm-hmm. And remember, this is a fireworks-themed game, which we're going to be talking about here in a bit. You'll be starting us off.
Cool. So my art and production one is not fireworks themed game, but it is a holiday themed game that plays almost exactly like Hanabi, but it is not co-op. It's actually versus in a sense, and this is Christmas Lights, a card game. Mm-hmm. One, it has really good art on it. Pretty simple art. You got Christmas lights. You got fireworks. Pretty simple art. In this one, you're basically trying to play against other players to complete your line. And either you're starting your line from the left or the right, how your cards, the first person to do 2 of them wins. Great card stock. Simple gameplay, because, it plays a lot like Hanabi, just not co-op. And so I went with this one. This is one of the first ones that I thought of, too, just because if you want something to play around Christmas time, and you want that Hanabi feel, limited communication. I don't know what I have in my hand, but you do. So, and what I like about what this one did as well is like, my limited information in co-op, you have tokens that tell you, hey, we have to give this information to someone else. Mm-hmm. I can bribe you for information. I know you're trying to save a card, so I'm going to take that card from you, and then I'm going to offer it to you for sale if you could give me certain information. So you can do that once or 2 times on your turn, and once you get going, the first person to hit 2 of their gold cards wins. It's very simple. Production value equal to or better, and it's right up there.
So I know I normally pick one spot on. I was going to pick Scout originally for this, just full disclosure, because it's a card game where the colors don't matter too much, but kind of. Yeah. And same with the numbers, they kind of matter, and then you have some cardboard tokens. But then I thought of one, it's like, no, this is my other New Year's game that I play. Because I pick Hanabi because it is fireworks theme, and I feel like that's very thematic to the New Year's theme. This is the other one that I pick. And this is also a game, instead of cards, it has tiles. And it has very pretty art.
I know what this one is.
About lights in the sky.
Lanterns?
Lanterns, yeah, by Renegade Games. Very simple game. You place out a grid of, you put out a lanterns tile. The one that is facing you, the color of the different lanterns that's facing you, you take those cards. Then everyone clockwise also takes the card that's facing them. Mm-hmm. But then also, if you've doubled up, like if I put a yellow next to a yellow, I get to take an additional yellow. But then you're trying to trade in certain sets to get points. The most points wins. Very simple. It is versus. Doesn't play similar to it, but it is a similar weight. You're nice and calm, you're relaxing, and you're enjoying pretty, like, neon, colorful stuff about things flying in light, bright colors in the sky. So I love the simplicity of that. I will say, though, if you're looking for a simple card game, Hanabi makes sense. This is a little bit more meaty because
Yeah.
it's tiles and cards and tokens on top of it.
Yep.
But very thematically looking the same.
My wife did not like this game.
No, see, my wife really liked it the first time she played it, and I bought it because she liked it. Because I was okay on it.
Yeah.
But I bought it because she liked it a lot, and we haven't played it ever since. Ever.
I get it. My wife, when we played it, she's like, eh.
Yeah, it's fine.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
Not her style.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep, pretty much.
But it's pretty. I actually like Lantern's Dice better.
I have Lantern Dice. I haven't played it.
Yeah, I like it significantly better, personally, because I like the dice. Anyway, I digress. With that being said, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you ever want to join us on a live episode, like any of our friends that join us live, unfortunately there was nobody today, but it's on a random Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
And we said we'd be here on Monday, so I don't blame them. Join us on twitch.tv/everydayboardgames.
I blame him. All video re-uploads can be found on YouTube under youtube.com/@everydayboardgamespodcast. And if you like what we do, there are 3 things you can do to help us grow on that platform. Subscribe if you're not, like the video, and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject.
And if you ever want to email us directly or contact us directly, you can. Whether it's to enter in future contest ideas, give us ideas for episodes that are coming up, or simply just to say hi. Email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com.
And all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games Podcast. This includes Spotify, Google, Amazon Music, Podbean, and now Apple.
So we want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.